The majority of my work is restoring or making furniture that people get to use. This time, I want to do something a little different. Like most of my projects, I started out with full-scale drawings. It's a good way to check that everything's in proportion. It also keeps track of the different layers of foam, timber and fabric. Got all my large pieces of timber cut. Now I'm making a template for my router. So this project is inspired by modern banquet seating. The combination of curves and fluting is very popular, along with the use of leather. I have a future project where I need to bend up some plywood, so this will help me get some practice. The edge needs to be very precise and smooth. I rough cut out the shape, leaving a few millimetres outside of the pencil line. Just using a small round over bit to take the sharpness off. Cutting some strips of 3mm ply, I plan on laminating them together to create a solid curve. I made up this curved jig out of scrap timber. I'll be bending my plywood over it to form a permanent curved shape. Just have to make sure the outer edges are all smooth and level with each other. Just using a regular PVA glue with a fairly slow drying time. I'll laminate 2 sheets together in one lot and 3 sheets together in the other. I'm using some plastic film so I don't accidentally glue together the 2 separate units. I left the boards on the jig for a few days to let the glue thoroughly set. The boards are really solid and have held the shape perfectly. I used a bit of filler to patch the screw and pin holes. I'll set out some brackets to hold the back panel to the bed base. This particular panel will be turned into all the individual flutes. I need to have it set at a height well above the base. This is to allow for the bed pad to slide up underneath. I'm marking out the flutes, there's 14 in total, all evenly spaced. There's many different ways of attaching the panels, but in this particular situation I think I'll go with keyhole brackets. I'm going to drill some holes with this 2mm bit. This will keep everything aligned for the next few steps. Got all my panels cut and correctly numbered from left to right. So this is how keyhole brackets work. Pretty simple in design, but also very strong. The gap between my panels is the width of a saw blade. I need to increase it out to 6mm to allow for foam and leather. The main back panel is getting some 1/2 inch foam. I've left the foam a bit long so I can wrap it over the edges. This will take the sharpness off, along with creating a bit of roundness. I'm starting off with 1-inch foam for the flutes, just using a hacksaw blade here to trim them off. I've added on another 1/2 inch of foam. Now I'm just trimming off the edges on the long sides. The final layer of foam is a soft 1/2 inch. It gets wrapped over all 3 sides, creating that nice rounded shape. We'll give it a quick test fit just to make sure everything's all snug. I'll go over the plywood with some fine sandpaper before giving it a clear coat of poly. Ended up doing 3 coats with a little light sanding in between. I have this pile of leather offcuts I've been keeping for some time. It's got quite a lot of thickness, but it's also soft and pliable. I've laid out all my pieces. With a little bit of careful cutting, I should have enough. I've tacked on some fabric. This will be used to create a cutting pattern. I want my back panel to be made up of 3 separate pieces. I'm chalking a line to get my seam to land evenly between the flutes. I've got everything chalked and numbered, as well as having some alignment marks for sewing. Eight of the flutes are identical in size, so I'll just measure off for one and create a little cutting template. 3 end flutes are different in size, so they'll get their own individual pattern. Everything's cut and ready for sewing. I run myself a test piece, that way I can check the stitch size and make sure there's no issues with thread tension. Seam looks really good. Now I want to give it a decorative twin needle look. Got this top stitch foot, has a spring loaded guide, which runs along the centre of the seam. I'll give it a run from the test piece from earlier. That's turned out really good, no adjustments are needed. I'm loving these guided attachments, super neat, a really professional look. I'm on to sewing all of the flutes. I'll take it pretty slow on the first one, just to make sure I've got good technique. I'll do some cuts along the seam to release the leather, that way it can sit nice and rounded on the curve. I'll give this one a test fit before going ahead and sewing the rest. This seam will now get sewn with a single line of top stitching. I have this foot which has a drop down guide on it. It'll run hard up against the seam, giving me perfect spacing. It's pretty slow going, but it has turned out nice. All sewn and ready to be stapled. Stapling on the leather is pretty straightforward. The four corners are a little tricky. With the leather so thick, the bulk on the seams needs to be trimmed out. I have to be careful not to snip the threads too far, otherwise the stitching could unravel. I'm now onto the bed base. I'll glue on a 1-inch foam. Much like the flutes, I've beveled the edge, then I'll staple on a nice soft 1/2-inch foam. I now have to choose a fabric for this bed base. I was thinking of going with a neutral coloured boucle. Only trouble is, I just found out that it doesn't hold up well with my cat's claws. Made this ottoman on an earlier video. The cat loves it as much as me, but she decided to give it a bit of remodelling. I've got a wool blend tartan that seems to be pet friendly. I think it's a great choice with the colour of leather and the shade of timber. I'm wanting the pattern of the fabric to sit absolutely dead centre. I've marked the centre of the timber on all 4 sides, but for the rest of it, I'll do it by eye. For the legs, I bought this little kit online. Comes with everything you need, including screws, plates, and even little felt pads. I've gone for an angled plate. This gives it a little bit more of a mid-century look. The legs have already been clear coated. It looks pretty similar to what I've already done. Really happy with how this project turned out. Let's see if the little fairy girl loves it as much. Surprised she hasn't scratched it already. The blinking eyes tells me everything I need to know. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.